The thought that he is God's chosen one is clearly evident. Donald Trump's frequent endorsement of the divine as his main supporter, declaring that he had God on his side, only to be booed by Republicans. None of that would have appeared to the faithful at the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee on Thursday night, even though their preferred choice for president had instead survived an assassin's bullet. Trump has experienced a streak of remarkable luck. And it's not only because he's been on a fortunate streak, but he could be on the brink of ending it. The former and future president reminisced about the memory of the brush with death that brought him to Pennsylvania during a rally last weekend, which he believed was a providential moment. Trump's ability to demonstrate his defiance by raising his fist in protest has convinced his most unwavering followers that he is a living sacrificer for their cause, reminiscent of the mass shooting. In a short time, the Republican Party had transitioned from being a cult of personality to a cult of personality. However, to view the delegates putting bandages on their right ears as a symbol of their love for and identification with their leader is to understand that that cult has become messianic. Even the most petty Republicans may have wondered if Trump has a benefactor on his side. He has had to go through 3 weeks of it all, and it has been his way. Trump's sleight of hand commenced with the TV debate with Joe Biden at the end of June, which, incidentally, would have typically been televised in autumn, if not sooner, according to the Biden team. But this time, Trump took a jab at the chance to participate in the controversial debate with Joe Biden. It was a 90-minute downright disaster for the president, who, when he wasn't struggling to complete his sentences, he was gazing vacantly into space, looking at every detail of the 81 years he'd been in office. Democrats were startled by the prospect of a catastrophic outcome, ripe in their party's chaos as they faced 3 weeks of internal turmoil as senior figures and influential figures fought to balance the importance and austerity of a president who they saw as a worthy recipient of the highest political office in the land and an increasingly pervasive belief that he would not only lose the White House but also check Democratic hopefuls for both the House and Senate. The process may culminate this weekend, but only after it has presented Trump with a delicious contrast. Democrats fragmented and disoriented, Republicans united, and a focused Republican group. Trump has been greeted with approval from the courts, whether it's 6 Supreme Court judges, 3 of whom he appointed, allowing presidents near total immunity for their official actions, or a judge appointed by Trump quashing the most powerful legal case against him, involving his purported retention of classified documents. That's allowed him to sit back and enjoy the show. He's watched as, to take one example, Biden gave a decent performance at a post-NATO summit press conference, giving detailed answers on foreign policy, while all anyone remembers is that he introduced Volodymyr Zelensky as President Putin and referred to Kamala Harris as Vice President Trump. The assassination attempt and TV bait are the highlight of these last few weeks, but they also highlight Trump's anti-campaign policies, which were anchored by the prevailing strong versus zeros rhetoric. The Republicans have a certain guy who bounces off bullets, as stated by a senior Democrat to me. Republicans for the Democrats are looking at a challenging fracas as the polls continue to show Trump leading Biden in swing states, even though both states were once fairly Democratic. During a time when Trump was being hailed as a messiah in Milwaukee, Biden enlisted the help of COVID to make the story more compelling for the public. He is now isolated in all its details in every way in and of itself. Maybe it's all in the bag. Democrats have stepped up their efforts to pressure Biden out of the race despite Trump's overwhelming lead in the election, thanks to his impressive numbers in the public square. Congressional leaders, high-profile donors, and Nancy Pelosi, the former House Speaker, have expressed their disbelief in Biden's determination to win publicly and privately via well-placed leaks. It's over, says one party veteran to me, who remarks, he'll leave Monday. Trump will come out victorious if his luck is not rewarded. Biden has been the sole contender in his campaign, effectively ruining his chances of winning every day. If you come across someone else in the race, it would modify 3 key elements of the competition. The media will focus on a new Democratic nominee rather than him, featuring the shiny object that would have started the media's attention from a different position. If he doesn't beat his competition, the race winner will be his very longest opponent and will be the top contender. Trump has the ability to convey his change message, which is so effective in the anti-consequency era, solely to himself. The Democrats' choices and their methods will determine the outcome of that last aspect. Trump will assert that Harris is the status quo if she is not mentioned by Biden and cornered quickly after his deputy, Harris. A cacophony of dog whistles about racists and misogynists will accompany her efforts to portray her as lacking a Democratic mandate and coming across as dangerously left-wing. However, there's a different approach to it. Harris's allies may disagree, but a small-scale version that requires a mini-primary could result in a couple of weeks of TV debates prior to the 4,000 or so Democratic delegates finally deciding to vote. While not entirely satisfactory, it would provide a degree of Democratic legitimacy to the winner and provide some insight into who thrives and what doesn't during the scrutiny of the nation. The party convention in Chicago on 19 August requires a pre-selection ballot to prevent a floor fight and instead present a showcase of options rather than a floor fight. I know we're getting ahead of ourselves here. Democrats should be apprehensive about the potential consequences of a significant weekend in the U.S. The Democrats should acknowledge they won't have much to lose. The contest has the potential to showcase the party's dynamism, its abundance of fresh talent, and underscore the contrast with its creepy ilk. The prospect of the election being re-edited by a significant number of Americans who have been saying they want more than a single outcome other than Trump and Biden for a year or longer raises the prospect of the polls looking radically different almost immediately. Trump once again proved to be a formidable opponent on Thursday night. His speechwriters suggested that he adopt a more compassionate, gentle perspective, espousing a man enraged by his own attrition and determined not to harm, a man of hope and resolute national security. He kept it going for some time. Despite being told the whole truth, he suddenly began to wander off into all the old somber tunes. Pelosi being considered crazy, the migrants being viewed as a vicious group, the electoral vote that cost him nothing. The U.S. and the world are too high of a threat to let Democrats give up the 2024 election to Trump, which would be done by a continued Biden campaign. The expectation is that Biden will reach that critical point in the next day or two and carry out what will be his final and significant public service. The right to act and not the power to act is not the responsibility of the Republican faithful, as it is both the right and wrong of human beings, regardless of their fears and vulnerabilities.